going to tell you why I love this. I'm ready for all of you who said Trump spoke in code, for all those people on January the 6th to go there and do what they did. Huh? I guess Trump was telling the FBI to do it too, huh?
For years, the outgoing FBI director, Chris Wray, has been pressed on reports of undercover agents. According to this new report, there were no undercover FBI agents. However, there were 3 confidential human sources tasked by the Bureau to be in the crowd on January 6th to specifically watch what the report states is concerns over domestic terrorism. Out of those 3, Sandra and John, 1 entered the Capitol, 2 others entered a restricted area.
So there were 26 FBI agents there, like we told y'all that there were FBI agents there. 1 went inside the Capitol, 2 entered the restricted areas, and strange how none of them seem to have got arrested. And do you think it not strange that the FBI current director is resigning? Oh, he's resigning because of Trump coming in. Yeah, right. How are you guys all doing? Welcome to the channel. I am Ty Smith. You're watching my channel, Modern Renaissance Man. Appreciate you guys taking time out of your day to view my content. Make sure that you're following me on all the platforms you see above and below. And hitting this like button right here is how my content can consistently be recommended to you. And if and when you do subscribe to the channel, make sure you hit that bell notification. That way you will be notified whenever I post a video. So ladies and gentlemen, you guys all know that I've been covering this stuff since day one when it came to the so-called whatever this so-called insurrection was. If it was indeed an insurrection, I'm going to be all over the place. So y'all just going to go with what's going through my mind right now, okay? If that was an insurrection, that means all 26 of those FBI agents committed an insurrection. That means the 3, with 1 going into the Capitol building, committed an insurrection. And the 2 that went into a restricted area, committed an insurrection. Why are none of them in jail? Why are none of them arrested? Why don't we know who any of them are? Because apparently, based off what the FBI were doing themselves, they were able to pinpoint all sorts of people that was in that crowd right there. Identifying people off of an earlobe, off of a nose, off of their teeth. And don't forget about Mr. Epps, who was encouraging people to go into the Capitol, who was instigating them to go into the Capitol. But you know what? I've already jumped ahead and just kind of ratted out on this one. I want you guys to check out this and tell me what you think, because this is crazy.
This is a pretty big piece of news to kick off the show today, Sandra. I'm John Roberts in Washington. The report reveals that there were a total of 26 confidential human sources in the crowd that day.
David Spunt is live from the Justice Department. He has got the news for us. David.
Sandra, 3 of those were authorized and tasked by the FBI to be there on January 6, 2021. We're coming up on 4 years since that day of the Capitol riot. This IG report specifically focuses on the FBI's handling of confidential human sources, or as we know them, FBI informants. For years, the outgoing FBI director, Chris Wray, has been pressed on reports of undercover agents. According to this new report, there were no undercover FBI agents. However, there were 3 confidential human sources tasked by the Bureau to be in the crowd on January 6th to specifically watch what the report states is concerns over domestic terrorism. Out of those 3, Sandra and John, 1 entered the Capitol, 2 others entered a restricted area. The report says the FBI did not encourage or authorize any sources to go into the building or a restricted area. In addition to the 3 confidential human sources, the FBI told there were 23 that were there on their own. Now, they had worked with the FBI in the past on other cases, but not specifically on the January 6th rally. Some of them entered a restricted area as well. And what stands out in this report, John and Sandra, none of the confidential human sources that entered the U.S. Capitol or a restricted area were prosecuted by the D.C. U.S. Attorney's Office. Remember, this is an office that is still arresting nearly 4 years later and prosecuting people with this case. Now, in a response to the Inspector General, the D.C. U.S. Attorney's Office says the following. The D.C. U.S. Attorney's Office generally has not charged those individuals whose only crime on January 6, 2021 was to enter the restricted grounds surrounding the Capitol, which has resulted in the office declining to charge hundreds of individuals, and we have treated the confidential human sources as consistent with this approach. Outgoing FBI Director Christopher Wray, who announced that he would be stepping down in the next few weeks yesterday, has been pressed on the FBI's role on January 6. Here's just one clip from last year.
If you are asking whether the violence at the Capitol on January 6th was part of some operation orchestrated by FBI sources and/or agents, the answer is emphatically
You're saying
not.
no?
No.
You're saying no?
Not
Okay.
violence orchestrated
Let's
by
move
FBI
on.
sources or a
Confidential human sources tasked by the FBI are not undercover agents. These are people that belong to groups like, for instance, the Proud Boys, the Oath Keepers, and then became paid FBI informants at certain points in time while still being members of their groups. And of course, John and Sandra, others are not part of any group and just decided to show up to the Capitol for whatever reason and still work with the FBI on the side and provide information. And we're, of course, waiting for more information from Capitol Hill to see if the White House has anything, the Department of Justice, the FBI, as this report just breaking now with the Inspector General.
Got it. Appreciate it. David Spunt on that for us. David, thank you.
All right, let's bring in Fox News legal editor Carrie Urban for more on this. I guess the big questions are, what does all of this mean in the grand scheme of things? Also, of the 3 informants that entered the restricted area and the one that entered the Capitol, were they just there as observers, or did they actually participate? Did they encourage or foment some sort of rebellious activity?
So a confidential human source is a fancy word phrase for a spy. So we know there were 26 paid spies by the FBI present on the Capitol grounds that day, according to this IG's report. Apparently only 3 of them were authorized to be there. So my question, John, is what were the other 23 doing? Now, they weren't, apparently, according to this report, encouraged or directed to be there, but were they told they couldn't be there? Like, what exactly were they doing? And in fact, some of them, as we learned from this report, entered the restricted area, went into the Capitol. Were they inciting anything? Were they enticing anyone to go with them? I really would love to know what exactly they were saying to the people in the groups that they were part of. I also think it's interesting that this report comes out the day after Chris Wray resigns. It seems to me that he may not have wanted to contend with the questions that, of course, are going to emerge from everything that we're learning today. And the other point I'd like to make is something that David Spunt just raised, where he said that Matthew Graves, who's the U.S. attorney here in Washington, D.C., did not prosecute any of those confidential human sources, spies, that did enter the Capitol that day. And his office, Graves' office, did put out a statement and said that they did not generally prosecute anyone who just went into the Capitol and didn't commit other crimes. My question there is, what does generally mean? How did they make those decisions? And why weren't those particular paid spies part of that group?
The 23 confidential human sources, just reading through this, Carrie, 3 of them entered the Capitol during the riot. An additional 11 entered the restricted area around the Capitol, to your point. Based on what we have learned so far in the details of this report, how would you characterize the findings?
Well, it's very interesting. I think it's especially interesting given that people who were, some of them were just, I think, internet sleuths and the like, have been talking about this for years. And it was only, I think, a couple of years ago that a DOJ attorney in court made the admission that some of these people were present that day. But if you remember, anyone who even raised the possibility that there were paid FBI spies part of what happened, who were part of what happened on January 6th, they were deemed crazy, conspiracy theorists, and the like. Now, look, confidential human sources are a law enforcement tool that are used in all kinds of situations, and we know that some of these people were apparently part of the Proud Boys and Oath Keepers. But again, why so many? What were they doing? What were the conversations they were having? And if they were, in fact, according to the IG and the FBI, not authorized to be there, then why weren't they prosecuted like everybody else who were prosecuted for similar issues?
On that point, you and I were talking about this off camera. So far, as of August, 1,488 people who were there on January the 6th have been charged with some sort of an offense. 894 of those people have pled guilty to various offenses. 288 pled guilty to felonies. 606 pled guilty to misdemeanors. Yet none of these confidential informants were charged with anything.
Right, so you have to wonder what were the conversations that were happening behind the scenes. And something else that came out in this report was that the confidential human sources, apparently the information they were providing to the FBI was no different than what everyone else was providing. Like, hey, January 6th, there might be some violence, there might be a thing. So there wasn't any, apparently it sounds like there wasn't anything special that they were revealing. And, you know, again, the questions are, what were those confidential human sources who were, quote, not encouraged or directed to be there by the FBI? What were they saying to the other people in their groups? And the reason I keep raising that is because if in fact there were conversations occurring like, hey, let's go in there, let's do that, let's do this. Entrapment is a defense. If a government agent induces you to commit a crime, a defendant can raise that in the court of law and say, look, I was trapped into doing something. I was enticed into doing something by the government I otherwise wouldn't have done. Now, the government's response based on this report would probably be, well, they weren't authorized by the government to be there at the time. But then, of course, a question for a judge would be, well, could they have been perceived still as an agent of the government, given that they were, this confidential human source? What did the defendant know about them and their role at the time? I just think this report raises more questions, but certainly at a minimum, gives some credibility to people who have been saying this for so many years.
And I assume that we're never going to learn the names or the identities of the confidential informants. So that will leave open the question as to who it was. We got to jump, but there's so much more to talk about regarding
Thank you, Carrie.
I'm going to tell you why I love this. I'm ready for all of you who said Trump spoke in code, for all those people on January the 6th to go there and do what they did. Huh? I guess Trump was telling the FBI to do it too, huh? Huh? Where y'all at? Where are you guys at? I don't hear any of you saying anything right now, huh? I guess Trump informed those racist FBI to be there and to do that, huh? Did Trump do all? Oh, wow. Why would Trump do such a thing? Oh my God. Trump, look what you did, Trump. You incited an insurrection by having the FBI be there to invoke those people to do what they did, Trump. Huh? Where y'all at? Y'all don't have nothing to say, huh? You with your tongue tied? Rock about Bob, ring-a-dang-dang. I'm a conspiracy theorist, right? When I started telling you guys that the FBI was doing that the FBI was involved in this, that there were FBI informants there. Oh, you're just full of this conspiracy hocus pocus to jubilee bibbity bull crap. Now look at this, and you wonder why that FBI director is quitting. He practically sat there and lied. No, he didn't. He said, I can't tell you how many were there. I can't tell you if it was 1 or 0 or none. I can't tell you. You knew they were there. Oh, there were 3 that were authorized to be there, but the other 23 weren't. Bull crap. Bull freaking crap. We're supposed to believe that? Who are they, by the way? Can we find out who they are? Now, ladies and gentlemen, this is where I told you guys, and I know a lot of y'all disagree with me on this. I said it would not be smart for Trump to just on day one say he is pardoning all January 6ers. Now y'all understand why I said that? This is why it needs to be a case by case. Do y'all want me to come and work for y'all, Trump? I'll help y'all with this. I mean, y'all, this stuff is really a lot of common sense stuff. The reason why all the January 6ers should not be pardoned is because of things like this. Go case by case, find out who they are, where they're from, blah, 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 and then let them go. But if he was to pardon all of them, that means the FBI is going to be included on that either. No FBI needs to be pardoned at all. Not one of them needs to be pardoned. I don't care about, some of them were just there just to be something. No, bull crap. Now watch how many of these so-called FBI informants that were there. Watch how they all of a sudden come out and be like, I was just a Trump supporter, though. I love Trump. I mean, I didn't want to say anything. Yeah, all of a sudden, all of them going to love Trump. Watch. It's going to be some craziness. But anyway, that's the reason why I know y'all want to do it, but you got to think through these things. You don't just let everybody out and everybody go. Because apparently 26 of them were FBI. It may be even more, if you ask me. I'm just saying. And now that you're seeing this, do you still think it's a conspiracy, that we felt that this was organized, that it was instigated, that they literally provoked the crowd to do what they did, that you can watch the video and see that they were letting those people into the Capitol? Oh, but we're just a bunch of dumb conspiracy theorists and stuff like that. Absolutely not. Anyway, crazy, right? You guys let me know what you think about this by leaving it in the comments below after this video. Don't forget to do what you do whenever you see that cloud right there. You should do that, right? The next video that I will be doing in chronological order will appear. Things that I do as a variety of my channel right here. I am Ty Smith, Modern Renaissance Man, hoping and praying that every last one of you have food, shelter, and clothing, and most of all, praying every last one of you guys are in great health, mentally,